Let's set the scene. It's Black Friday, and an electronics store is offering an incredible deal on the latest gaming console. The doors are about to open, and a massive crowd has gathered outside, eagerly anticipating their chance to snag one of these highly sought-after devices. The atmosphere is electric, with a palpable sense of excitement and tension in the air. Now here's the catch. The store only has a limited supply of these consoles. They've advertised the deal heavily, but they simply don't have enough stock to meet the demand. You can see where this is going, right? A large, excited crowd plus a scarce resource equals a potentially volatile situation. Imagine it. The doors open and the crowd surges forward. Everyone's trying to get in first, hoping to secure their console before they're all gone. People are pushing and shoving, jostling for position. Tempers start to flare as frustration mounts. It's a powder keg waiting for a spark. This is the kind of scenario that keeps store managers up at night. They know that if they don't handle this situation carefully, it could quickly spiral out of control. A frenzied crowd can turn dangerous in the blink of an eye, leading to injuries, property damage, and a whole lot of negative publicity. But here's the thing, it doesn't have to be this way. With the right planning and crowd management strategies, stores can mitigate these risks and ensure a safe, orderly shopping experience for everyone involved. It's all about understanding crowd dynamics, anticipating potential issues, and having a solid plan in place to address them. For a long time, the prevailing wisdom was that crowds were inherently dangerous. The idea was that when people gathered in large numbers, they lost their individuality and became part of a mindless, chaotic mass. This view painted a pretty grim picture of human nature, suggesting that we're all just one crowd away from descending into anarchy. But here's the thing. That notion is outdated and frankly not supported by the evidence. Sure, there have been instances where crowds have turned violent or destructive, but those are the exceptions, not the rule. In fact, when you look at the data, you'll find that the vast majority of crowds are peaceful and well-behaved. So, what's really going on here? Well, it turns out that the key to understanding crowd behavior lies in the concept of shared identity. When people come together in a crowd, they often develop a sense of unity and common purpose. They start to see themselves not just as individuals, but as part of a larger group with shared goals and values. This shared identity can be a powerful force for good. It can encourage cooperation, altruism, and a sense of responsibility to the group. Think about it, when you're in a crowd of people who all share the same passion or purpose, you're more likely to look out for each other and work together towards a common goal. Here's where things get really interesting. The effect of shared identity is even more pronounced in emergency situations. You might think that in a crisis, people would panic and start looking out for themselves at the expense of others. But the research tells a different story. Take the London bombings of July 7, 2005, for example. In the aftermath of the attacks, researchers interviewed survivors and found that far from descending into chaos, people actually went out of their way to help each other. They shared water, helped the injured, and worked together to evacuate the affected areas. In fact, one study found that over 60% of survivors reported seeing others helping each other in the immediate aftermath of the bombings. This phenomenon has been observed time and time again in emergency situations around the world. From the September 11th attacks to the Boston Marathon bombing, people have consistently shown a remarkable capacity for cooperation and selflessness in the face of crisis. So, what does this tell us about crowd behavior? Well, for one thing, it suggests that the old idea of crowds as mindless, chaotic entities is simply not accurate. People in crowds are still individuals with agency and the ability to make rational decisions. But more than that, it shows that the power of shared identity can actually bring out the best in us, even in the most challenging of circumstances. Let's take a closer look at how this shared identity plays out in real-world situations. The London Underground example we mentioned earlier is a great case study. In the aftermath of the 2005 bombings, researchers found that the strong sense of shared identity among passengers led to remarkably orderly evacuations. People helped each other, shared information, and worked together to get everyone to safety. It was a powerful demonstration of how a concentrated identity can bring out the best in people, even in the most harrowing of circumstances. But what happens when that shared identity is lacking or when crowd management fails? Well, that's when things can start to go wrong. Take concerts and festivals, for example. When you have a large number of people in a confined space, all excited and eager to see their favorite performers, it's a recipe for potential disaster if not managed properly. One of the most infamous examples of this is the Who concert disaster in 1979. 11 people were killed and dozens more injured when a crowd rushed the entrance to the venue, leading to a massive crush. The tragedy was later attributed to a combination of factors including unassigned seating, inadequate crowd control measures, and a lack of communication between event staff and attendees. More recently, the Astroworld Festival tragedy in 2021 brought crowd safety back into the spotlight. 10 people died and hundreds more were injured when a massive crowd surge occurred during Travis Scott's performance. Investigations revealed a litany of failures in crowd management, from inadequate security and medical personnel to poor communication and a lack of emergency planning. These incidents highlight the critical importance of effective crowd management, especially in situations where there's a high level of excitement and energy. Without clear communication, adequate staffing, and well-designed crowd control measures, even the most well-intentioned crowds can quickly turn dangerous. When we look at the factors that contribute to crowd tragedies, a clear pattern emerges. Inadequate crowd management, poor communication, and a lack of emergency planning are all common threads that run through many of the worst crowd disasters in history. But here's the thing. These are all factors that we can control and improve upon. Take the Who concert disaster we mentioned earlier. In the aftermath of that tragedy, there were major changes to the way concerts and festivals were organized and managed. Unassigned seating was largely phased out in favor of designated seats or sections, and event staff were given better training in crowd management and emergency response. These changes, along with improved communication and coordination between organizers, security, and attendees, have helped to make concerts and festivals much safer in the decades since. We've seen similar improvements in other areas as well. In the world of sports, for example, many stadiums and arenas have undergone significant design changes to improve crowd flow and reduce the risk of crushes and stampedes. Wider concourses, more accessible exits, and better signage are just a few of the changes that have been implemented in recent years. And then there's the Hajj, which brings millions of Muslims together in Mecca each year. In the wake of the 2015 crowd crush that claimed over 2,400 lives, Saudi authorities embarked on a major overhaul of the Hajj infrastructure and crowd management procedures. They widened roads and walkways, installed new pedestrian bridges and underpasses, and deployed a fleet of high-tech monitoring and communication systems to keep tabs on crowd movements and density. The results have been impressive. In the years since those changes were implemented, the Hajj has seen a significant reduction in crowd-related incidents and fatalities. It's a powerful example of how even the most challenging crowd situations can be made safer through a combination of careful planning, modern technology, and a commitment to continuous improvement. As we move forward, it's crucial that we take these lessons to heart. We need to prioritize crowd safety in everything we do, from the way we design our public spaces to the way we plan and manage large-scale events. We need to invest in the research and technology that can help us better understand and predict crowd behavior, and we need to train our emergency responders and event staff to be prepared for any situation. But perhaps most importantly, we need to remember the power of that shared identity. That sense of common purpose that can bind us together in even the most challenging of circumstances. Because when we come together as a community, when we look out for each other and work towards a common goal, there's no limit to what we can achieve. So the next time you find yourself in a crowd, take a moment to appreciate the incredible complexity and beauty of the human experience. Take a moment to reflect on the power of connection and the strength of the human spirit, and most of all, take a moment to look out for those around you, to be a force for good in the world, and to help create a safer, more compassionate future for us all.